Hey guys, what's up? New episode, new location. If you're from Lusaka, then you're familiar with this place. Shout out to Granddaddies for allowing us to use their space in this episode. If you're not in Zambia, this is the best spot to come and hang out, guys. Chumalila Kuno, it goes down. Yeah, shout out to the team. You guys need to visit this place. It's pretty dope. Nice food. I can smell it. Cheap alcohol. Everything else. Come with me, guys. Hey guys, welcome to ZMB Talks with me, your girl EDNA. Now when you see me wearing this, you know I'm dressed for an international act. My guest today needs no introduction. Well, maybe for some of you that do not know him, he goes by the name of Mukuka, one of Zambia's international acts. He's signed to Ultra Music. Same record label as Black Coffee. Budweiser brand ambassador. What are you?
I'm all these things you mentioned.
Yeah, what else? What else can I leave out, please?
That's above all a musician, you know? Someone who just wants to make music and share happiness and spread the word of music and electronic music. Yeah.
So now here's what happens. Every time Mukuka posts a picture, there's always a girl commenting, oh my God, this guy. Today we're here to find out all the pecs.
We're both wearing flowers. Look at this. Very spring-like vibes,
you know?
up in here.
How you doing?
Good.
Welcome to ZMB Talks.
Thank you for having me.
Finally.
Yeah, it's been
Finally. A while. It's been a while. I've been trying so hard to get you on Mukuka, guys.
I'm sorry.
Finally. How's it going?
Good. Much better than the way the year started, you know? I mean, because the second wave here was quite bad. You know, everything shut down. A lot of friends and family got sick. It was a tough period. Trying to keep my mother safe and my inner circle safe. But now we're gigging again. We're going out again. We're doing this again. You know, so that's a good sign.
So during the pandemic itself, where were you? Were you in Zambia or you in South Africa?
I was actually here. I never left. Can you imagine that? So usually I travel all the time for shows. And for the last 12 months, I've been stuck not only in Zambia, but in Lusaka.
Wow.
And for the first time, I broke out of this cycle and went to Livingston for a few days this past weekend.
So how are you surviving?
I don't know. I guess music, you know, spending a lot of time in the studio, just trying to think ahead, motivate myself, ride this wave. It's all a matter of just getting through this phase. It's a phase.
Yeah.
You know, life is full of ups and downs. This is just one of those low moments. And there's gonna be
getting there,
a beautiful ascending, you know, like experience soon. So just a matter of riding that wave.
How come you were not one of the DJs that were really pushing the virtual, you know, DJing?
That's a good question. I think so. In the beginning, I was a little skeptical. You know, I thought, you know, it's not really going to work so well in Zambia or even in Africa in general, which is actually the truth. That's what happened. It kind of failed. But I wanted to see everyone else do it and then make up my mind and, you know, see whether this is something I wanted to jump on. And it looked like it wasn't really working so well here. I mean, it worked in the West, but it didn't work so well in Africa, specifically Zambia. I mean, not so many people have a lot of data on their phone to use for streaming various things every day. No one was going to buy these virtual tickets to attend a virtual event on their own, sitting in their house. And then also, Zambia never fully locked down. So there was no real incentive. No one was that desperate to have to watch a live stream for 2-3 hours, which are all the negative effects in terms of why it didn't take off.
Okay.
So that's why.
Okay. He loves avocados, guys. Why?
Clearly.
I wouldn't eat avocados for ish, even though you put a gun to my head and said eat avocados.
Really?
No, yeah.
Wow.
What's with you and avocados though?
Nothing weird. There's no weird avocado fetish or anything like that. It was an idea that came when we were brainstorming around how to do this video for Lost. So basically, I wanted to do the video on an island, all of us, like Adekunle, myself, some actors and stuff, and then, you know, travel restrictions made it impossible for us to be in the same place at the same time. So we decided that we would shoot our scenes in our respective countries. You know, I would stay in Zambia, Adekunle would be in Nigeria, and we had some actors, or one actor actually, in Germany do his part with the avocado. which, and it was quite cute the way they shot it. They used the real avocado, static avocado, and then we had an illustrator go and illustrate the arms and legs and eyes and mouth and stuff after that in post-production. So it was a beautiful team effort, collaborative experience.
Nice.
But unfortunately, we couldn't have this kind of synergy.
But
we couldn't be in the same place at the same time. Yeah, I think so.
I
think so.
So before we actually get to that, you met my man, Adekule Gold. You actually talk and stuff like that. But today we want to get to know who El is.
Okay.
Like, who is El Mukuka?
Yeah.
The first time I started seeing your name was on billboards, not really billboards, but flyers.
Yeah.
You know, you're performing at Piara Media, Budweiser. And I'm like, who's this guy?
Yeah.
I tried to look you up. I'm like, he doesn't look Zambian.
Okay.
Yes.
Why is that?
I don't know.
What does Zambian look like?
Like me. So I'm like, okay. Then I did a few research, and it says you are half Greek and half Zambian.
Yeah, I'm a zebra.
So let's start with your name itself, El Mukuka. What does it mean?
So El Mukuka comes directly from my real name, which is Eleftherios Mukuka. And Eleftherios obviously is Greek, and it means freedom.
Oh.
And Mukuka is my family name, my dad's last name. And so I have this interesting mix of two very contrasting cultures
What is
in
it
one
like
name.
growing up in such a home?
It was interesting. So my parents separated when I was quite young. And so I was raised pretty much by my mom, my Greek parent, in Zambia.
Okay.
So I was raised in a Greek home, in a very Greek home within Africa, within Zambia. And so I had this beautiful like mesh of my two cultures. It felt like I grew up in two countries at the same time. But in actual fact, I was raised fully in Zambia.
Oh, where exactly in Zambia?
In Lusaka.
Where did you do your education?
A couple of different places. Like Italian school, then I finished at ISL, so kind of a few different places, but the last 7 years I think of my middle to high school education were the best. They allowed me to flourish and open up and express myself as an artist. I found a lot of my earlier schools were very close-minded and didn't really support kids who are a little different in that sense, who express themselves differently, who wanted to pursue a career that wasn't your mainstream boring, accountant, lawyer,
doctor,
engineer, doctor. Nothing against those professions, but that's your mainstream path, There was no room for someone who didn't want to be on that mainstream path. And so that was a critical issue growing up for me.
Cool. And how did South Africa come in the picture now?
South Africa, I mean, it's the closest, biggest market for my kind of music, electronic music. I've never lived there, but I do a lot of work in South Africa. I perform there regularly. I've worked with record labels. I used to be signed to Sony Music South Africa. So yeah, there's a strong relationship there. And now South African radio is showing so much love. Lost is charting. It's doing better than I expected.
It moved from 26, 22 to top 10 now.
It started in like the 30s in the 5FM top 40, and now it's at number 12. So
how do you feel about that?
Good. Let's get to number one, and then ask me.
How do we get it to number one then? How do we get it to number one? Is it through requested? Is it?
I believe so.
Is it
yeah.
the tags
So
on social media?
it's a local. I mean, 5FM is probably South Africa's largest radio station, but it's all that happens locally. So I believe it's a combination of probably voting for the song as well as, I don't know, determining how the song is growing based on various parameters that they look at to put their charts together.
So we talked about professions in Zambia that's like being a doctor, a lawyer, that everybody wants to become.
Yeah.
And when you're in school, you're taught to say, when you grow up, you should become this, or this is, this is good. It pays good money. At what point did you decide to say, I want to be this different kid. I just want to do music?
When I was 12, I think.
How did that come about?
I wanted to be an MC. I want to be a rapper. I used to wear a do-rag, big pants. I fell in love with rap music. I used to listen to a lot of Eminem, Dr. Dre, Snoop Dogg, Exhibit, and then some underground guys like Eric Sermon, Too Short, Redman, Method Man. These were my guys. And that was my entrance into the world of music. If it wasn't for those guys, I wouldn't be where I am today.
For real?
And of course, I continued evolving. My mom insisted that I also learn music formally. So I pick an instrument and do theory and practical training, which really helped.
So how many instruments can you play now?
Piano is my main instrument. When I was a kid, I played some recorder, and then I moved to the trumpet. I played trumpet for a few years, but it was never my primary instrument. So I had to drop it when I went to study music because I needed to focus on one instrument. And so the piano is what I play.
So now, from what I'm getting, it's like you really had support from the family.
Definitely, definitely.
You attended tertiary education, and when you did, you studied music.
Yeah.
Wow, what is that?
I've been preparing for this my entire life.
You really have. You really, you really have. And how many local languages can you speak?
That's a bad question. That's very bad. My Bemba is very, very broken, and I feel very bad about that. In fact, one of the things I want to do this year is enroll myself in proper Bemba classes so I can just get it to a level where it's decent enough. Where if you drop me in Musonsa, you drop me in Kasama, I'll be able to find my way, you know?
Can I make you feel good? My Bemba is worse.
I don't think so. I don't think so.
My Bemba is terrible.
But then again, I do speak Greek, which is good. And it's a harder language. So I feel like since I've gotten the harder one out of the way, now let's tackle the Bemba.
And Greek is actually good because every time you're learning something, it says, this word means this, but it originated from a Greek word, which means that. How do you say Modishani in Greek?
You would say Yasu or Yasas if you are speaking formally and speaking the plural. Yeah. Yasas. But if I'm talking to be like Yasu, you'll be like, hi, how are you?
Then how do I respond?
You would say Mulishani. Well, you could either say Yasu or Tikanis, which is how are you? And you would say Kala. Or Kalaime, I'm well.
Kalaime.
You got it.
Kalaime, okay, cool. Which Zambian artist did you grow up listening to?
That's a good question. I've had my phases. You know, I used to listen to a lot of radio growing up because I wanted to understand the market, understand who the players in the game were. Yeah. I remember when I had my first radio interview, I was 16. I was a rapper. Mbachi gave me my first radio interview. Oh yeah? I think it was like Christmas Eve or something. And back then I used to listen to Yellow Dove.
Are you serious?
Roberto, and before that MC Wabwino, Crisis, because he was like spearheading the hip-hop movement, especially English hip-hop. Who else? And then probably just some big hits on the radio that I used to. Chameleon was big back in the day. So I was observant. Like I saw these guys around 5'4". When I was in high school, I used to listen to. Remember 5'4"?
Yeah.
It used to be back in when he was still at Yunza, I think. It was like the Zambian Jay-Z. So I used to listen to a lot of these guys. But unfortunately, there was no one at that time doing what I wanted to do. Or what I evolved into. Because back then I was still doing rap, so I wasn't so interested in electronic music. Yeah. But there was no one to sort of open my eyes to the world of electronic music back then. And now things have changed, actually.
So out of all these guys you've mentioned, anyone you'd love to work with?
It's a bit tricky because I have a specific sound and vision for my brand. So as much as I respect many musicians, both locally and internationally, not everyone fits in line with my vision. In fact, very few people fit in line with my vision. And that's why even locally, I've limited the number of collaborations I've done. Not because I don't like local music, but because it's hard to get them in line. You know, recently I experimented with Bemba lyrics and like real Kalindula vibes. So all along, my vision has been fusing Western dance music with African music. So almost every song of mine has some Kalindula element.
That's dope.
And then I took it one step further and I collaborated with James Sakala a few times and he sang in Bemba. So I had English lyrics, Bemba lyrics, and then all these Kalindula vibes, usually with the
and then the
guitar.
Ebo Chungu.
And then Abel, even my track with Abel, Getting There, that has like all these African guitars in it, you know, it's a fusion track. And that was back in 2014, you know, 7 years ago. So I've been experimenting with these fusion tactics, but I feel like now they're getting better and better, and just my strategy has become clearer. You know, now that I'm actually working on my debut album, I know now my recipe, you know.
Things are getting interesting here. We have an album. Okay, so before we actually get to the album, which ones, like after you say, you know what, I think this is what I want to do, which one came in line first? Was it the production or the DJ?
It was production. So when I was 12, I didn't have any equipment of my own. I had my mom's cassette player. It was like a 2-track cassette player, if that's what they call them. So I used to get like a Dr. Dre track and loop those intro beats onto a blank tape and create maybe like a 1 minute beat, like instrumental of like some intro or outro sections. And then I would get this like crappy microphone and plug it into the system and just record onto that. That's how it started. And then a friend of mine gave me music production software called Fruity Loops 3.4 back then. And
did you have any idea
that
how to
changed
use
my
it?
life. That was the beginning of everything. It like blew me away. So throughout my teenage years, I never owned a PlayStation or played a lot of video games or chased after girls or any of that. I was in my bedroom, especially during school breaks, making beats like a nerd, you know? I still do it. But that's when it started. And so it started with a production. And then even when I left hip hop and I got into electronic music, initially I wanted to avoid DJing. I don't know, it's not the DJing that stole my heart. It was the actual production, the music,
The
house
music
music.
itself.
It was actually 2009 when Edward Meyer's Stereo Love came out that I was totally blown away.
Like, this is what
and
I
he
wanted.
did a similar thing. So he mixed Romanian traditional music, Romanian folk music with Western dance music. And I'm doing it now for my own cultures, Western dance music with African, specifically Zambian folk music. So that's where it started. And then, of course, I realized that the only way to perform as a producer making electronic music was to DJ. And I was kind of forced into it. And now I love it, of course. Now I appreciate it for what it is. I think it's an amazing
So which one
art.
gets you the gigs? Which one gets you most gigs? Is it the DJing, or do you have artists coming to, I need to produce my track?
So I don't produce many tracks for other artists. I'm so busy working on my own projects.
Okay.
But there's another side to your question, which is what grows the brand, what drives the growth.
Yes,
a lot of people think it's playing high profile shows. That's definitely good. Imagine you're playing to 30,000 people and a quarter are Shazamming your tracks. And if you're playing your own stuff, that's amazing traction. But the truth is, the growth is propelled by the actual songs, your original songs. If you have a song that's playing on radio, a song that's blowing up, that's when the demand is created, and then the bookings come in. So it's a package. And for DJs who don't produce in today's world, it's like they're incomplete. You know, the brand is not like multifaceted. You know, it's not the full package, because you really need that two-sided two-sided input to really grow the brand. You know, it cannot just be playing big shows or filling up your tour schedule. You also have to be releasing new stuff that other DJs are playing, that you're playing, that radio's playing, that's blowing up on Spotify and the other DSPs. So it's become very intricate.
I love the fact that you talked about that DJs just having the two faces and knowing what they want to do. I was watching an interview where Black Coffee said he doesn't usually play his music when he's DJing, the music that he's produced.
Yeah.
So is it the same for you? What is it like when you're, let's say, DJing at an event? Should we expect majority of El Mukuka songs, or diffusing different?
So it's interesting that Black Coffee said that, because it tends to be the tendency with a lot of DJs. For some reason, we are reluctant to play more of our own stuff, either because we've heard it a million times, or we are very critical and don't believe in our stuff as much as we believe in other people's stuff, even though our stuff could be really hot and trendy. I think it's very important though. So for me, it's more like a conscious decision. Like I'll come, when I'm preparing for a set, I will have some tracks, some key songs that I think are amazing, usually by artists I like, DJs I like, and I'll make sure I play those in my set. But then there's always this little voice in my head that's like, hey, make sure a certain percentage of your performance, your track list is El Mukuka songs. And so I'll make sure that I slot in my own tracks, because it's marketing at the end of the day. You know, you cannot miss that opportunity to push your songs. And the beauty is when you kind of just like create this beautiful cocktail of music. You know, you're mixing acapellas on other instrumentals, or just the way you transition from someone else's track into your track and then back into another track. So there's a lot of art within the world of DJing, but I think it's critical. And if you look at someone like David Guetta, for example, he could do like 90% original stuff at one of his big festival shows, because that's the point.
That's why
I don't go to see David Guetta to hear, you know, a bunch of other people.
Yeah.
I go to see him to hear him,
His
to hear
songs.
his music and his remixes and his mashups and all that kind of stuff.
Now that makes sense. Now here's this young kid from Zambia, you know, he just wanted to do music.
Yeah.
He just wanted to be big out there, sell your country out there. How did you manage to establish yourself in South Africa to the extent where brands like Budweiser want to work with you, to the point where big corporate companies want you to play at the events? How did you manage to do that?
I mean, it's been a step-by-step process. My brand is still a lot bigger in Zambia than it is in South Africa.
I don't think so.
I think so, because this is where I spend most of the time on the ground, you know, and that's a very critical thing to keep in mind, you know. With today's technology, you can penetrate other markets for sure, but you know, how many radio interviews am I doing in South Africa? How many TV interviews am I doing in South Africa? How big is my personal network in South Africa? So obviously, because I'm from Zambia, I grew up in Zambia, I'm still based in Zambia primarily, although I travel a lot. This is still like my hub, even though it's a much smaller market with people who are still being introduced to house music for the most part. But I think it's been an organic process, you know, full of trial and error. You know, I've just been learning along the way. I've been doing this for many years now. And I have, I guess, I'm really stubborn, you know. When a door closes in front of my face, I'll go and look for another one, you know. That's just the way it has to be, you know. It hasn't been easy. I
just learned something from you right now. You don't necessarily have to be there to make it that side.
Yeah.
You can do your work from here. You say technology has improved a lot of things.
Yeah.
So we have to utilize it, right?
We have to.
We don't have to wait for connections.
No, of course not. But you also do need to be on the ground. It's something that you cannot do without.
So how do you stay on the ground? You say you spend much of the time here.
Yeah.
How are you on the ground that side?
So usually, well, before the pandemic, I'm constantly traveling. In fact, one of my last major shows before the world closed up was Ultra Music Festival Johannesburg. It was actually my Ultra Music Festival debut. So I was so excited. The year looked amazing. Like the prospects for 2020, it was my year. It was our year. And then everything kind of just closed down. But it's okay. It's okay, because the silver lining for me then was all the music I worked on, you know, and the focus I had in the studio. There were no distractions, almost no distractions. But then to go back to your question, it's usually when I'm performing, you know. If I have a show in South Africa, a show in Uganda, Zimbabwe, Kenya, Angola, Mozambique, wherever I am, I will make sure that I spend some time on the ground there, networking, make sure I do a few interviews.
Okay.
Usually the promoter will offer these things anyway, and some artists turn them down because either they don't have enough time or they're not interested, whatever. I try to take any opportunity I can wherever I go. And then maintain relationships with people I meet, whether it's DJs, club owners, promoters, radio presenters, journalists, and you know, year after year, month after month, day after day, you know, growth comes in, and I still have a very long way to go. I'm going to be the first Zambian DJ to raise our flag at Tomorrowland. I promise you.
Yes.
I promise you. And I'm happy this is on record.
Yes.
You guys need to play this when it happens. But you know, there's a long way to go, and it requires a lot of faith, a lot of discipline, a lot of hard work.
Discipline.
And I'm excited and nervous at the same time.
Well, we're excited for you because you're opening doors and it's going to be easy for us to just walk through them.
God willing.
And then, moving on to my next question.
Yeah.
You mentioned Sony. I didn't know you were signed to Sony Music South Africa or just Africa?
Sony Africa, but they have their office in Johannesburg.
Okay, cool. So how did they spot you? How did you get to them? How did they know about El Mukuka?
A lot of people tend to think that I grew up with a silver spoon in my mouth, you know, like a little prince there in my castle, just all these opportunities thrown at me. I don't know why people think that. Maybe because of the color of my skin, you know. I mean, you know, racism works both ways. Yeah. You have to understand. But in fact, it was a struggle, you know. I remember emailing the A&R at Sony, the head A&R at Sony, when I was still in college, I was sending him emails. Initially,
What college was that?
I went to the Berklee College of Music in Boston
Okay.
to study music. And so the first 2 years of sending him demos, I don't think he responded at all, just ignored, like I didn't exist.
Wow.
And then in the third year, I started getting responses, but rejections. And that lasted maybe 1 or 2 years. And then in like the fourth year of sending demos, I started getting offers. And that's how it happened, you know, and that's how it happened with every record label. You know, that's why I say this resilience, this stubborn attitude, you know, it's like, I'm not going to take no for an answer. So you say no, I'm going to go back to the drawing table. I'm going to refine my skills, you know, like better my understanding of songwriting and production and what is needed. And then I'm going to try again. And then you're going to say no, and I'm going to go back, and then I'm going to try again. And that's how I've built my brand. It's as simple as that.
Nice. I'm learning a lot of things right now. Because, you know, I'm always in people's DMs and I never get any response.
And, you know, the funny thing is, so unfortunately, I couldn't finish my degree. Berklee College of Music is an amazing school with super talented, ultra talented students and teachers, but very expensive. And they never gave me the financial aid that I needed. So I dropped out. And immediately I dropped out, I started hustling my way through the music industry as I was working a few odd jobs to pay the bills and making exactly what, you know, I said now, you know, like just trying to understand the way the business worked, establish contacts for myself. I didn't have a manager back then. I didn't have a promoter. I didn't have a booking agent. I didn't have anyone, you know, there was no label, no publisher. My team was just me in my bedroom. And I started doing these things, reaching out to people, and initially getting rejected badly. Like out of 10 emails, I would get 1 response, and that would be a rejection. Yeah. So, and what's funny though is I did that for the last 2 years that I would have been in college.
Wow.
And all my friends who graduated, you know, and went through their entire course and had their fancy graduation ceremony and everything, started calling me or texting me like, bro, you know, just graduated, and I was wondering whether we could jump on a phone call to get some information about how the industry works or how to pitch a song to a label and demo submissions. And like, man, you finished. And I had all this, like, I had a bit of both, you know, like the university training and then like the street training, you know, the real life training. And it was interesting to understand that as much as going to a good school is very, very important, it doesn't teach you everything. In fact, there's a lot that they don't teach you about the real world, real industry.
Do you desire to go back to school?
No, I haven't been since I left, and I don't think I will. I think they're gonna give me an honorary degree one of these days. So I can actually have my graduation, so yeah.
Okay, there's power in the tank. Anything can happen, right? Okay, then do you remember the first gig you got in South Africa?
Yeah, in South Africa. The first few gigs didn't come from South Africa, actually, because that's like the pinnacle. That's the biggest in Africa. The first gig outside of Zambia came from Zimbabwe. Came from Vic Falls Carnival.
Oh, that one. Where is that one held? I thought it
doesn't happen anymore. So it happens at Victoria Falls, but of course, not on our side, on their side.
Okay.
And now it doesn't happen anymore. It was actually, it's actually the perfect time for Zambia to just snatch that festival and make it our own, because it's literally on the border.
Yeah.
So that was my first, let's say, international booking. And it was really exciting. You know, I had a daytime slot. It was quite early in the day, but I still had a bunch of people there. Some Zambian flags in the crowd. It was a lovely experience. I met Goldfish and a few other cool South African acts. And then I played for a second time and then a third time opening for Black Coffee and Mikasa. So, you know, it was nice to see the growth there. So it started with Zimbabwe and then it kind of spread into Mozambique, Kenya, Uganda, Angola, South Africa.
So South Africa wasn't the first country?
No. Nice. Because it's a little difficult to get into that. You know, it's the biggest industry. So usually the bigger the market, the more difficult to penetrate.
Your dream show where you'd love to play or perform?
I want to play Ibiza. I've never played Ibiza, and I'm manifesting this now in my head. That summer 2022 El Mukuka Ibiza residency. Remember that? Well, we have it on camera.
We have it on camera.
Come with your Zambian flags. I'm inviting all my Zambians. Come with your flags.
Okay, then tell us about this Ultra Music contract.
Yeah.
Same record label as Black Coffee.
Yeah.
How did they reach out? How did you feel? What was it like for you? Did you also have to, start sending emails? Did you get the rejection at first, or it was a one-time thing?
No, nothing I think has been a one-time thing for me. It was the same process. I've been reaching out to Ultra for the last maybe 5 years. I got quite close about 3 years ago, but it ended up in a rejection. So, and then, it was actually divine intervention, to tell you the truth. I was in London last year, one of my last trips before the world closed. And it was right before Ultra Music Festival in South Africa. And I was just there for like 5 days. And I had a studio session. And the artist I was in the studio with, Robin M., and a super, super talented British DJ producer, who also does Afro House. His wife is his manager. A lovely lady, but she's also super well connected and just has a thing for, I don't know, like helping out where she can, So one day we had a great studio session, and so we had dinner a few days later, and she encouraged me to reach out to an Ultra A&R while I was in London. It was not something I had thought about because it was such a short trip. I had a few things that I was there to do and was there for, and I felt like there was no time to knock on doors really. But the meeting was set up quickly. It went super well, and that was it. We met at Talyard at the Ultra office in London, and the rest is history now. So
now this is not Ultra Music Africa or whatever. It's the main Ultra Music.
It's the London office of Ultra, yeah. So Ultra is based in New York. It's an American record label, and they have offices around the world.
Nice. So tell us, what is it like? At least you've been exposed there. You've been with a lot of people. And is the grass greener on the other side, or maybe it's just us thinking,
we like to think that. I also am very guilty of thinking that all the time, You're wanting to be in a bigger market where there's more appreciation for house music, a bigger population with disposable income, all these factors, and it's a natural thing for me to feel that way because it's a business, and as much as I love the art, I love the music business. And from a business point of view, Zambia is very, 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 very small for music, specifically electronic music. But it's a bit of both, For example, London is a lovely city. I could see myself living there. I could see myself living in Paris. I could see myself living in Berlin, I spent a lot of time in some of these cities, especially Berlin. But the sky is gray most of the year. The weather sucks. You're in a little apartment, no garden, hard to keep a pet, they kind of have to be in the apartment with you. The way of life is totally different. Where you source your food from, getting red meat. I'm just going over it's a long list. Things that we take for granted here. They are dying for. Even avocados. Here you can buy an avocado for 10 kwacha or something. That's $half now? Over there, they spend maybe 2-3 euros on an avocado. Maybe more depending on where you go. So it's a bit of it's a mix. I feel like the best is to experience both, and that's kind of what I want to do. I want to be based in Europe for the warmer European months, and then be based in Africa for the warmer African months. Okay, so
how do you manage to tap into? I know you've traveled a lot, so I'm sure you get inspirations from wherever you go. But how does Mukuka tap into that creative space? How do you do it? When you want to be creative, how do you get in the zone?
Traveling usually helps. I feel like when I come back from a trip, I'm very inspired because I've been exposed to new things, new faces, new culture, new tastes, new smells. And that usually results in a healthy level of inspiration. But sometimes it's just a matter of divine intervention. You're sitting in the studio and then boom, something comes to you, or you wake up one morning and you've got a melody in your head, or in the shower, in the toilet, wherever you are, driving. Then you record it on your phone as a voice note, and then you go to the studio and you try and elaborate on that. So It really depends. It really depends.
Okay. Let's talk about Oh I'm Lost. Oh I'm Lost. How did you think about it? Please don't laugh at me.
I love it. I love it. I love it.
How did you think about it? Could it good? Like this is the right person I can put on this track.
It was again a very organic process. So in 2017, 18, he released a song called Ire. Beautiful song with a beautiful video. And I discovered that video through watching a music television channel. I don't remember what it was. One day at home, fell in love with the song. I didn't know who Adekunle Gold was at the time. So I Googled him, realized he was already a big shot in West Africa. And then as a DJ, the first thing I wanted to do was see whether there was a house music version that I could play in my sets, because it was such a beautiful song, and that didn't exist. So I thought maybe I should be the one to remix Ire. But then I figured that back then especially, he wouldn't have gotten back to me, you know? Like my brand was still quite small. He was so big. It will be one of those emails that just goes into thin air. And so I didn't write to him or his management. And then a few days later, the same thing happened. I bump into the video and I'm like, okay, well, this is a sign. What's going on here, you know? And so I wrote to him. I wrote to his manager. And within 24 hours, she responded with a positive response, looped him into the conversation. They checked out my stuff. They loved my stuff. They liked the idea for the remix, sent me the parts. 6 months later, my remix came out. And that's how we established this relationship.
And I love the fact that you've mentioned this, because people think that was actually your song featuring Adekunle Gold, but it's his song and you did a remix to it.
Ire, correct.
Okay.
Ire, yeah.
All right, okay.
And so that's how Ire came about, the remix, my remix. And then once the remix came out, I told him that I would really be interested in working on a song with him, because I love his style, his voice, his way of... I've never been a big fan of Afrobeat. And that changed when I discovered Adekunle Gold, you know, because he has this, it's different, you know, everyone is different.
It is.
Pato Ranking, Davido, Wizkid, Adekunle Gold, Burna Boy, and now Johnny Drill, who's another guy, I don't know if you know him.
Johnny Drill,
Nigerian, check him out, one of my favorite as well.
I will look him up.
Everyone has their own little style, a pocket, a subgenre that they sit in. And for me, that blew my mind, because I thought Afrobeat was Afrobeat. It was one and the same, but it's not at all like that. And so a year passed, and one day he randomly called me. I think I was in Europe.
Who called you?
Adekunle Gold.
Oh my God!
I was like, bro, I have a song for us. Are you interested?
Are you
and so
for
he
real?
sent me the vocals, and it blew me away, and that was Lost. That became Lost.
Oh, I'm lost. I'm still lost now.
Now you're more lost.
Okay, so now let me guess the countries. You already told us where you shot the video from. Zambia, Germany, and
Nigeria.
Okay, cool. Interesting. Any single we should look out for with Adekunle as well? Again?
I mean, we're still pushing Lost, you know. We're about to launch a TikTok dance challenge. And you seem to be the perfect person for this. I'm going to call you.
Yes, please.
We'll get a dance from you. But it's still in the early stages. You know, the song has been out for what, 5-6 weeks or something like that.
How's the response?
It's been very good.
Okay.
So good, so good. Yeah, both locally, internationally. South Africa is eating it up. So that's really good. We're now kind of excited to see how it does in the West. You know, the first month on Spotify, the majority of the streams are coming from France. So that was quite cool. And it's not a random territory, because France has a lot of African culture. Just look at their football team. I mean,
Take me to France with you, El.
There's a lot of African culture in their music, in their arts, in their entertainment. And so it's a very interesting market. I think in Europe, perhaps the most interesting, especially for someone like me. Okay. But there's a lot of new music in the pipeline. A lot.
You talked about an album. Do we have a name already, or you're still trying to figure? We're still lost.
In fact, it's still just like an idea in terms of what concerns the public. In terms of the music, I mean, a lot of it is there. I've been working nonstop for the last 12 months because I haven't been able to travel or perform as much as I usually do. But I'm very excited about it. I feel like spiritually, it's time. It's time. You know, next October, I turn 30 years old. And before I turn 30, there are two things that are going to happen.
I'm
going to have my Ibiza residency in summer 2022, and I'll release my album.
Okay. You know, when you feel it spiritually,
it
does happen.
Yeah.
And this is what's been happening on social media. A lot of people said, especially after the news came out, so you've been signed to ultra music.
Yeah.
So people are like, oh no, this guy, same record label as Black Coffee. We Zambians are sleeping on him. And I'm sure you've heard this before.
Yeah.
Does that get to you? And do you actually think to some extent that's true?
Yeah, Zambians are sleeping on me. And it's the sad reality and something I just have to deal with, you know. I've been dealing with it for a long time. I know it, you know. I mean, you can feel it. You feel the response you get, the amount of support you get from your locals. And I feel more supported by the international market than the local market. And that's sad to see because I am a proudly Zambian musician. I was born and raised in this country. I know no other country better than I know this country. This is my home, you know, it'll always be my home. So when your own people kind of turn their back to you sometimes, it's painful, but the tables will turn. The tables will turn, and soon a lot of these people who have their doubts about El Mukuka are gonna be
and, you know, we're actually having this,
sold.
it was a heated conversation at the office the other day. And can I be honest with you?
Yeah, of course.
To some extent, I feel you're also sleeping on us.
Okay, how?
Because for me to attend an El Mukuka show,
Yeah.
I need to have at least a 200 kwacha.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And I feel there's a lot of people that want to come and support, but the people are, they can't really, I know you have your own standards, but the fact that I can't really get a 200, at least if I have a 200, I'll have 4 people come in the show.
Yeah.
So I also feel you should
Quite
also,
exclusive.
yes, you should also try to be more appealable to the people that are in the ghetto, people that don't have
It's a very
access
good point.
to things.
It's a very, very good point, and it's interesting you brought it up because I was having this conversation with some of my brand partners the other day, and I was saying that right now we're catering to a specific demographic.
Yes.
Like a premium demographic. Because I have established a rather premium brand locally, and I work with other premium brands. But I'm starting to realize, especially through my social media engagements, that there are people who are interested in what I do, but can't necessarily afford to tap into this premium space. So I definitely will. This is something I already am thinking about. So thanks for bringing that up. I will try set up some stuff, opportunities for people to be able to experience my.
Because do you know what I want? I want, let's say your team says, let's go to Zambia. We're having an El Mukuka show, a one-man show, and we're going to turn up. We're going to show up in numbers. That's what I want, and not an event where it's going to be bush, it's going to be classic, but only 100 people are going to turn up.
But you know, you also have to understand where that comes from, you know, because house music is not the most popular style in Zambia. It's not a mainstream style yet. It's niche. So I'm working in a niche space, and as a result, I've just kept it niche. I market my music, you know, everywhere. I'm on every local show and every, let's say, premium avenue for marketing. But it's this niche market that sustains my brand locally. And so, you know, as a result, like these are my patrons, you know, I have to cater for them. Another factor is that we don't really have many festivals going on anymore. We used to have more. This is why festivals are important, because festivals are usually a lot more affordable than these exclusive shows, and they're a lot bigger. So you have 2, 3, 4, 5,000 people coming, mixed people from different backgrounds, from different tastes, all sorts of stuff. And that's a great opportunity for people to access talent. You know, both international and local talent, but we don't have festivals. You know, we have maybe 1 or 2 that happen, but we don't have our big festivals that used to happen. We don't need to get into that now, but something happened and they just fell apart. So it's the industry that is, to be honest, the Zambian music industry is a little broken. It's not a sophisticated industry yet. You know, it's not fully functional like other industries. For example, when you get played on radio, you should get paid. You know, you get paid your royalties. Name one Zambian artist, one big Zambian artist who makes what he should be making from radio.
No, even TV, nothing.
Or sales. How much do Zambian artists actually make from streaming platforms or sales? Spotify only opened in Zambia, what,
Recently.
3-4 weeks ago?
Yeah.
Apple Music 1 year ago? I mean, come on, this is ridiculous. And then how many Zambians are on these platforms? How many Zambians have plastic cards and, you know, make these payments electronically? How many Zambians have access to the internet? So there are many, many issues here. It's not as simple as saying this is, it's not black and white.
True.
But it's a valid point.
True.
Very valid.
I'm so happy I had this conversation with you, and I know the ladies won't leave me if I don't ask this. You know what I'm about to ask, right?
No.
Are you married?
No, I'm not married.
What are you waiting for?
I'm young. I'm 28. I'm young. I'm almost 29.
You're getting
but
married at 25 these days.
yeah, but not me. It's not very practical, I think.
All right. I was playing a game with Bombshell on the same platform. So what is it called again? I think it was One Must Go, or for me it's something. But then I put you and some other guy, and she said, no, I think EL. I think I know. What did she say, guys? Was it a smash or pass or what? What was it? What was it? I've forgotten what it was. But this is what we're gonna do. There's a game called One Must Go.
All right.
Yeah. So I'm gonna give you 2 celebrity names.
All right.
And you have to pick to say, no, this person must go. It's nothing personal.
It's nothing personal until I get a few phone calls. Yeah. All right.
And even in the comments, people are taking it really, really serious in the comments. Saying, no, you guys, this game. I'm like, no, guys, it's just a game.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So here's the thing. I'll give you 2 artists, and you have to pick.
Yeah.
Since I did this to Bombshell, I'll do this to you again.
Yeah.
Bombshell, clear your eyes.
They're my friends. How can I?
One must go.
Well, I'm going to approach this from a very practical, pragmatic point of view.
Yes.
Cleo is married, isn't she?
Yes.
So let her go.
That's a nice one. Okay. Wezi Mumpy. One must go.
Again, they're both my friends, so I must say that. You need to put that out first.
None of them is married this time.
See what she's trying to do here. I don't know. I don't know. It's. I don't want why do you put me in the spot? Okay, I'm just gonna pick a random. Okay. Mumpy.
Okay. Let's take it to the DJs. DJ Hussein v Jeezy.
One must go.
One must go.
Okay. Also friends, colleagues. What is actually the benefit of playing this game? Like, don't see any benefit.
It's just a game. It's just a game.
Hussein.
Okay. Alrighty. Thank you again for showing up. I really appreciate it. You spread a lot of knowledge. It's just up to us to pick up and connect a few pieces together. Social media handles, please. Let your social media grow.
Yeah.
Your social media handles, please. Sorry.
Super easy. El Mukuka on all the platforms. That's EL Mukuka on Instagram, on TikTok, on Facebook, on YouTube, on Twitter. You name it.
All right. Any
no dating sites. just if you see my face on a dating site, it's not me. It's not me. Someone told me they saw my face on a dating site.
It's not you.
It's not me.
Okay.
Hell no.
Any special message you have for your fans out there?
Yeah, I just want to say thank you. Thank you. It's a long road on this journey, but we're getting there. And these words come from my song with Abel Chungu, and it's very true. It still resonates till today. Thank you for all the support. I wouldn't be here without you guys, without Zambia, Sure. And although I have lots of plans to grow and carry this flag all over the world, it's every single one of you guys that is giving me the fire and the power to do this. So thank you very much. And
he actually means it. He just said, you know what, I'm sorry I didn't make it today, but I just need this platform because I need to go. People look down on us, but it was a different approach when I approached you and you said, no problem, I'm gonna do it. Others are like, no, I don't know you, or no, I don't do interviews. But for you, it was really cool. It was super cool because I know it's not only Zambians that are gonna watch this. You've also put us on in some way. You know that, right? You have fans from France, you have friends from Germany, and they'll see my cute face, guys. Bye. Remember to subscribe. Let us know who do you want to see. You know what time it is? Hashtag elevating the industry. Mwah.